This week on Car Con Carne the Mighty, Stabbing Westward, Chris and Walt joining me in the Mazda 3. Stabbing Westward, back in the day, put out 4 albums, 2 of which went gold, and they have a handful of hits to show for their heyday. And if you're thinking you could use something better to listen to podcasts on, get a phone, get a plan from Boost Mobile. Switch to Boost, where your taxes and fees are included on all plans. Plus, get 2 lines with 3 gigs of 4G LTE per line for just $50. It's all on the fast and reliable Sprint nationwide network. Boost makes it easy to switch, and yes, switching makes it easy to save.
It's Car Con Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Car Con Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van
All right, so here we are. It's Car Con Carne, the world's only food podcast recorded in a car. It's brought to you by our friends at Boost Mobile. And in that car, we're on Clark Street right now. Look at this. It's Chris Hall. It's Walt from Stabbing Westward. The reunited Stabbing Westward. We're sitting here on Clark Street. Cubs game just ended. People walking by have no idea what's happening. You're headlining Metro tonight.
The best moment was when we were standing on the roof of the Metro in front of the marquee that said Stabbing Westward sold out. And as we're standing there, we were getting our picture taken for, I don't know what, something.
For Cold Waves.
And people were walking by and they see a band standing on and they're waving at us. I'm like, that was a special moment.
Yeah.
The standing on the marquee was cool, but the people walking by going, hey, they must be somebody because they're standing up there.
On the marquee, yeah.
And they're not changing the letters.
Funny moment. You guys were in Smart Bar as I was getting set up here on Clark Street. As I was manipulating microphones and plugging things in, 2 guys walked by, pointed to the marquee. They're like, yeah, Stabbing Westward. Your 90s in Chicago, it was like Local Age and Urge Overkill, but Stabbing Westward was the cool band. They were like technology and stuff.
We were not considered that at the time.
Well, hindsight or revisionist history, whatever that was.
We got the write-ups in, what's the magazine?
The Illinois Entertainer?
No, they were nice to us. The other one, the Reader.
The Reader.
Oh, yeah.
The write-ups in the Reader were scathing.
Yeah.
I had a fantasy about burying that guy in a coffin and then feeding him through a tube and forcing him to listen to the first Stabbing Westward record on repeat
it's really good
until he literally drowned in his own feces. That was my fantasy about that guy because he
a song
wrote
waiting to
such
happen.
a scathing review about all we were a band. We were just trying to make music, and he just like took it so personally that we had somehow bypassed his fucking vehicle where you have to be trendy through the Reader and his personal permission to become a famous local band. He was so mad about it that even when we got big, he still wrote shit reviews about our records. I'm like, dude, fuck you.
Well, that's the thing. People were really
literally drowned in your own feces.
Annoyed because we didn't come up through the club scene.
But we did.
We did, but we
did
didn't do it for
100
as
shows
long.
at the Avalon. We did like shows
I was going
at
to say,
the
the
Metro.
Avalon was your place.
We totally busted ass locally. And then I went on tour with Warsaw. And that's
Jim Marcus is downstairs
he
as
is
we
downstairs, and he's the guy that opened the door for us. And it's just
Is that right?
Couldn't be any more local.
Jim was your guy?
Jim was our guy. He took me on tour, and then when we got off tour, he helped hook us up for the whole.
And I want to talk about some Stabbing history, but let's take a step back because we're here tonight for Cold Waves.
Did I just go off on someone whose name I can't remember?
Yeah.
It's okay. It seems like you have a lot to. I'm glad Stabbing Westward is back because it seems like you have a lot to work through. Perhaps on stage tonight.
If only I'd been writing songs in a band this whole time to get it out of my system.
So Cold Waves, you guys did this last year. It was the reunion. This was
Cold Waves was the impetus for this happening.
And all right,
kinda.
So Cold Waves is an annual festival. It's really a very Chicago thing, very industrial.
Very industrial, very Wax Trax, very that scene was like Wax Trax made that scene something, and then they're bringing it back here.
And at the root of this, I mean, this was kind of sparked by the death of someone who's very plugged into that community, Jamie Duffy.
Yes.
And it inspired this concert festival event, which became a thing. And, I know they're raising money for anti-suicide or
awareness.
Prevention, yeah.
Being in a band has got to be hard.
Yes.
I mean, my God, your last Columbia album was called Darkest Days.
Yes.
I'm sure things got pretty bleak for you guys.
I think when you write music in a band, you have to distill it down and concentrate it to the most intense of your emotions. If you write about your mundane average stuff, then you're Ed Sheeran, which I think Ed Sheeran's great at making the mundane awesome.
I want to see you on Game of Thrones.
I would love to be on Game of Thrones, but I'd rather be in the book. Fuck the show.
That's
They
right.
they fucking went off the rails. It's like the book is so amazing, and then they just started like, oh, but we have a freaking schedule. I mean, they could have explored the first book for this many seasons. There's so much shit they're leaving out. Don't get me started on Game of Thrones.
Chris, it's been a while since we talked. You have so much anger.
I have 2 children now. No way to get it out. So.
Do you need a hug?
No, I'm good, man.
Okay.
I get those. Just don't sneeze in my mouth. I'm done with that too.
Okay, no problem. So, Cold Waves last year, you
Yes.
got back together.
Yes.
It's long been my contention that no one stays broken up forever. Case in point.
Broken up is a weird thing. If it was a relationship, I suggest staying broken up forever because it never works out the second time. Trust me. All those songs about getting back together,
Not so much.
it's a fucking terrible idea. If it crashed and burned the first time, move on. But yeah, we didn't break up. It just got
You just
to
needed time away?
Well, no, it just got to the point where the music industry was collapsing around us. We did not like each other anymore. We had management that had basically beat us into the ground, and we were all just fed up with it. There didn't seem to be a way forward.
Yeah.
There was nowhere to go. We'd already done all these records, and there was like we'd already got dropped from a major label onto an indie label, and then dropped from an indie label in 1 year, and we're like, they're like chasing a smaller indie label. I'm like, there just comes a point where you have to look at reality.
Diminishing returns.
Yeah. I heard a TED talk the other day on NPR where it was talking about Google has a team called the X Project where they try and do the moon missions, where it's like they try and do the unimaginable crazy things, and they give them unlimited budgets, and they reward the engineers who are willing to look at the dream moonshot idea that they had and go, you know what, this isn't going to work. Let's scrap the project. So instead of getting punished for failure, they get rewarded for failure because they're allocating money to things that could work. That's where Stabbing Westward was. It was at the point where to continue on would have been beating a dead horse. Right. And we had it's like nobody agreed on anything musically, what to say. The band had taken a weird hard right turn into like this weird pop thing, and there was a lot of resentment going on there. Some guys wanted to go back to heavier industrial music. Other guys wanted to go farther in that direction, and everyone was confused.
Wait, were you two ever in lockstep during this process, or were you two butting heads?
We actually, there came a point, do you mind if I talk about this?
Go for it.
There came a point in my mind where
but I might get offended, and then I won't
I
play
don't
the show
think you'll
tonight.
get offended.
That'd be legendary if you walked off stage tonight.
He and I started the band together, and there came a point
when
where
you were kids.
When we were kids, and there came a point where forces that be kind of convinced him that to create a union against the evil lead singer tyrants, and that's when a wedge was built between us, and the label and the manager and even people in the band were trying to it was all about this weird power. It was all Game of Thrones. It's all power play stuff, and all I wanted to do was drink beer and sing songs and maybe have sex or a blowjob every once in a while. It was all very simple stuff. I was very easy to appease. I didn't want power. I didn't want to write all the albums and dictate I just want a little blowjob after a show and some IPA.
As is your right as a lead singer.
Just I wasn't looking for much, but yeah, I felt like at the end, and then things got really bad, and there was a talk about if we're going to be this Britpop band, we don't need a keyboard player, and that's where I put my foot down. I'm like, whatever weirdness Walter and I have, he is 50% of this band, and if he goes, I go. And we broke up, I think, 3 weeks later.
Wow. So last year, Cold Waves, had you in the back of your head been saying to each other, maybe we should give this another go, maybe the time is right, before Cold Waves came up?
Walter came to my father's funeral in Macomb, Illinois. He showed up in a suit and walked into the church where they're having
I bet he looks amazing in a suit.
He
I've
does.
never
He
seen
looks
you.
good in a suit. He looks proper in a suit. I look like I'm
don't
wearing
die.
I look like I'm wearing my dad's suit. And I was so touched by that because we hadn't spoken in a decade. We weren't mad at each other.
We were because we had some business.
Oh, that's right.
So
you were
there's
mad at me.
there's about 5 or 6 years where we didn't talk.
Yeah, I forgot you were mad at
then
me.
you reached out and said, my father passed away. I'm coming to Illinois. Do you want to have a coffee and talk about stuff? And I took the 30,000-foot view. I thought, this is my brother. This is somebody that I grew up with. I've known him for 30 years.
And we were in the trenches.
And I can't let stupid, business bullshit that means nothing really get in the way of that. And so that's when I'm like, screw it, I'm coming down, going to the funeral. And then we ended up hanging out for 18 hours, I think, that day.
Yeah, eating pizza and
the
drinking.
Next day. Yeah, and
no blowjobs though.
And it was one of those things where
Near perfect night.
As we split, I just keep rolling on. We split, he's like, "You want to do some music?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's see what there is." And that's really how we ended up back together. And then that led to the last Dreaming record.
Yeah, so we were nervous at that point. That I was under the impression at that point that Stabbing Westward couldn't really play shows without, some sort of legal permission. We were, there's a lot of gray area about what's happening, and we were kind of super nervous about it because there was some really bad blood when the band broke up. But that was 12 years ago. It's like how bad is the blood still? And when they offered us the Cold Wave show, we'd already been touring in the Dreaming together for a year at that point.
And Walter is an official member of the Dreaming now.
Yeah. If the Dreaming is still a band, we don't know if it's actually.
This is all very confusing.
It's all very confusing. 4 of the 5 guys are the same band. It's very confusing. Fans are like, "Why would I go see the Dreaming if I can see the real thing?"
Is this like Love and Rockets and Tones on Tail?
It is.
Okay.
It is it's like Love and Rockets and Tones on Tail.
I like that analogy though.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, but I would go see Tones on Tail
in a heartbeat.
And Bauhaus. It's like Stabbing Westward, Bauhaus, and we're Love and Rockets, or are we Tones on Tail?
Right. I'm hoping you're Love and Rockets.
Yeah, I don't know. Tones on Go is a cooler song than anything Love and Rockets.
Go is a cooler song, but Love and Rockets, you've got the deck stacked. You've got No New Tale to Tell.
Yeah.
You've got So Alive.
Yeah. Ball of Confusion.
Yeah, that's where the world is today. Hey. So you guys got it back together. And really, time, maturity, and just the relationship you had, that tends to overwrite all the other BS that happens.
Yes. Well, the other BS was all.
It was
in the heat of the moment. Yeah, it was all this false narrative power struggle. It's exactly what's happening in American politics. The powers that be at, whether it's the record company, management, or whatever, are able to better control a band if the band is divided. If you divide the band into camps...
This is like Sun Tzu, Art of War kind of stuff.
It is. If you divide the band into camps where they're constantly bickering amongst themselves, and the higher-ups can make executive decisions for the band, make them do things they don't want to do, and create things like that last album that we did where the style changed completely as we watched aghast going, what is happening to our band? And that's because we had created tribes within the band and we're fighting, and it's the same in American politics. As long as red and blue are fighting, they can do whatever the hell they want. And that's what happened. And when you take that out of the equation, we don't have a manager. We don't have any of that. We're just playing shows and having fun and seeing our fans that have all grown up with us.
Yeah.
And they're all our age now, and it's like they all have kids, and it's cool. It's like back then they couldn't approach us because we were on a tour bus and it was all blah blah blah. Now it's just like, hey, let's drink. Let's have fun.
We sell T-shirts at the end of the night. We go to the table and we sell them ourselves. We don't have a merch person with us.
Yeah, it's like cool. It's like come hang out with everybody. The guys that you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome for us too because we get to actually hang out with people that know who we are and appreciate what we do, which is something you don't get when you have kids at home.
So true enough. So let's go back to last year. You played that show at Cold Waves. Mm-hmm. It clicked. It came together.
It was the party the night before at Double Door. Yeah, so it wasn't
the kickoff party.
Cold Waves. It was a kickoff party. Yeah.
So you walked off stage that night,
high as a kite,
and
not on drugs, just like so happy.
Yeah.
Did you know? Okay, that's it. We're going to do this again.
No,
because we didn't have another show. That was a one-off thing.
Our agent was chomping at the bit.
I bet.
Just like he was trying so hard not to, like, just dump the emails for more shows on me. But he was like, you got to. And my guy from my record label, Metropolis, was like, you need to think about this. You need to decide if this is the best thing. Like, I think it'll raise awareness for the Dreaming. And he's like, I think that it'll kill the Dreaming. I'm like, well, it's pretty fun playing in front of 500 people that know the words to everything instead of trying to convince people how awesome your new music that they've never heard is. That's like fucking selling blenders at Costco.
It really is.
It really is. It's hard. It's like, this is a new song. You've never heard it, but trust me, it's awesome. I know you'd rather hear Save Yourself and sing along, but trust me, this is going to be an awesome smoothie. This is going to be the best smoothie. This thing goes at 4,000 RPM per second. It's going to be the best smoothie you've ever had. You'll get a free sample in a minute, sir, but you have to listen to my entire Costco spiel first. Okay. So, yeah.
See, I think the going theory is if you're a band and you have one hit, at least one hit, you can tour on that hit for the rest of your life.
We had 4.
Right. that's what I'm saying. Like,
you can spread that out over an hour and like keep every time they lose their interest, like, oh, I know this one too.
Right.
Yeah. We don't put them all at the end.
see, and this is where Cheap Trick goes wrong. Just to go on a tangent real quick.
I heard this story.
Yeah.
I heard this story.
They can't write a set list to save their lives.
Yeah, you need to play the songs people know.
You got to front load some hits.
I was really disappointed
yeah.
with the Foo Fighters set when they played
Same
at Wrigley
thing.
Field. It was like that. The first 5 songs, I'm like, I
Not
don't know
with the
any
Foo
of this
Fighters.
stuff.
You mean Cheap Trick?
Yeah, Cheap Trick opened
Okay.
for Foo Fighters.
Yeah, you made it sound like you're
Yeah.
just
I'm
playing
sorry.
with Foo Fighters. I just want to clarify so you don't get in trouble with your buddy
Right.
Dave.
Right. So, I was just like, this is. I'm going to go get a beer.
Yeah.
And
I don't. We don't get self-indulgent as far as set lists go. I know even when the Dreaming would tour, we would play 6 or 7 Stabbing Westward songs because I am here to entertain.
Right. Give the people
I'm not.
what they
I'm
want.
not here to
Right.
force feed you my new music. I'm here to give the people what they want because the happier they are, the happier I am. Because there's
Absolutely.
nothing worse than work.
Having everybody-
Like, oh my God, I have to
Animosity.
work. Yeah, I just want people to have a good time.
So I guess the question is, knowing that a band with 4 hits can probably tour on that music forever and have some level of self-sustainment, would Stabbing become more of a full-time proposition?
No.
Will it?
No.
You say that without even blinking an eye.
I have 2 children at home, and it's like, no. We've tried on this little thing that we've done now. We've tried to hit every major area of the U.S. We play the East Coast, the Midwest, Texas, and we're hitting the West Coast in November. And we're trying to hit like every major area with a very clear message. This is not going to be a thing. If you want to see us, and we're 3 hours away, drive. Because we're not coming to your little town. Except for Sacramento. Apparently we're going there instead of San Francisco. I don't know why. Actually, I do. It's because Frontline Assembly stole our availability at the club that we could play in San Francisco. But anyway, love you, Reese. But yeah, so I mean, that was the goal, was to give everyone a taste of the reunion. And then we'll figure out what from there. Of course, our agent's got 400 casino dates lined up, ready to go. With the,
Casino dates.
Yeah, that's where the money is, man. Casinos and county fairs, and we're just like, no, dude, that's
Well,
not.
casinos make sense. There are no windows there. I mean, you want a dark room for Stabbing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and they don't care if you draw anybody because they're just like trying to have a thing on the marquee to get people to gamble.
Right.
So it's like, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, no. I mean, we have to think about what we're doing and why we're doing it. When you tour for a year, as a band in the 90s or whatever, even a new band today, you're doing it to promote a new album. You're doing it to get, promote an album to fans and to radio stations. You're doing a lot of radio shows and stuff like that. If you don't have a new album out and you're just playing the same 15, 20 songs, I mean, Orgy did that. Our bass player's in Orgy, and their first tour was huge. They
Right.
sold out a bunch of places, and they've been back to those places 9, 10 times. And each time you go back, it gets thinner because it doesn't have that feel of I may never get to see them again.
Right. There's nothing special.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And honestly, just for me, it's purely selfish. My kids do not do well when I'm not there. I'm a stay-at-home
Makes sense.
dad, and they freak out when Dad is not there. So
I'm going to let you two go back and get ready. You're headlining Metro tonight. It is Cold Waves. It is the return of Stabbing Westward.
let's end on something positive. It's all really dark.
I'm talking about your show, your headlining show tonight. This is all exciting.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a delicious dog at Wrigleyville, dogs across the street, but no, my stomach hurts really bad.
See, so you should go inside. That's not dark. This is all positive.
It's going to be dark when I get to the bathroom.
Look at this. Stabbing Westward is in my car. They're
We
back
are,
together,
and it's nice.
and they're going to be playing hits tonight.
This is a
because
nice
they
car.
care about the fans.
This
That
real,
is true.
This is real leather.
It is real leather. Nothing but the best for my guests.
I'm vegan. I'm out.
Are
Just
you
kidding.
really?
No.
Okay, good.
I just ate a hot dog.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter what city you go to. No one does the hot dog like Chicago.
Nobody
No
does
one.
it. It doesn't even make I tried to
they're-
explain it to my California wife, and she's like, "I don't understand. Is it a salad?" I'm like, "No, it's not a salad. It's just a."
No, there's
it's
meat
got
in there somewhere.
It's got a hot
Yeah.
dog and a pickle and a hot pepper and a tomato and just one. It's like weird. They decorate it in this weird way. Yeah, it's weird.
Cool. All
I
right.
like it.
Chris, Walt, thank you for hanging out. I'm so glad you're back together, even though it's a fleeting moment in rock history. It's awesome to see you.
It is what it is.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Headlining Metro tonight. Thank you, Facebook Live, for watching. Chris is a big fan of Facebook. Glad to be on. Uh-huh.
My mom loves it. She's 72.
There it is. There it is. I gave you that one. All right. And this will be in podcast form soon. Thank you for watching. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
You got it.
Oh my God, I'm so angry. Why am I so angry? You want to know why I'm
Wait, hang on.
angry,
I'm still
truly?
recording here. Hang on. You're not angry. You're
I
just-
am. Do you know why I'm truly
Is it
angry
me?
today?
Is it me?
Yesterday, we pulled pulled up to our hotel in in St. Louis before we went to St. Louis to the gig. It was like 20 minutes outside of town, and there's a White Castle at the exit. And we saw the White Castle in the distance, and I thought, this is so amazing. After the show, because we don't have White Castle in California. It'd be like if you saw an In-N-Out burger.
Right.
So we see the White Castle, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be so fucking cool. And Carlson's like, White Castle, that'll be so fun. We don't have those there. And we're thinking, okay, after the show, we'll get one of those big fucking bags of White Castle. They're like this big, so you can eat like 10. And we hadn't eaten all day. We were all starving. And we didn't get to eat dinner at the gig. So, like, that's what we're going to do. It's going to be amazing. And I thought about it the whole day. I'm just like, oh, we're gonna eat White Castle tonight. I stole a bunch of beer from the venue. I didn't steal, it was our beer.
Right.
But I put it in the van. I'm like, I'm gonna bring it in the hotel room. We're gonna have like a 12-pack of beer left over. We're gonna eat a bunch of White Castle. We're gonna fart like animals tomorrow. It's gonna be awesome. And then Johnny brought his fucking wife on the tour, and she's like, I'm not eating that garbage. That's like mystery meat. There's a Denny's right next door. Why don't we go to Denny's instead? It's much better. I'm like, because it's fucking White Castle. And it's like, Walter and I used to eat White Castle when we were recording the very first demo in the ghetto.
In the ghettos.
We would leave the ghetto and go to White Castle and come back and we'd get the giant cups so that we could like pee in them afterwards because we didn't want to go to the bathroom because it was so ghetto. And this like White Castle holds like this sacred fucking thing to Stabbing Westward, and it was a big deal. And she fucking bitched to the point that they went to Denny's, and I went home fucking mad and didn't even eat. I went to bed like starving, and I've been hangry ever since.
I understand.
Fucking White Castle. I'm so disappointed.
Thank you for doing the podcast.
I hope it's everything you wanted.
Oh, and more.